The Mitsubishi Outlander gets a refresh for the 2025 model year. And in this video, I'm going to cover the exterior changes, the interior changes, take it for a drive and see what it's like out on the road, as well as talking about the kind of fuel economy you can expect and also the pricing and how it compares to the competition. And so as far as the refresh for the Outlander, well, it's pretty subtle. And if you're not super familiar with the Outlander, you might not even notice it looks any different at all, honestly. So right up front there, the main change I think you can see is the grille area, which now no longer extends up the hood like it used to, and the headlights are slightly different. I think the front bumper is also kind of tweaked a little bit, but very, very subtle for sure. We also have this pearlescent kind of metallic gray color that is really cool. It's very in vogue. Just about every manufacturer offers something similar, but it's really great to see Mitsubishi joining the fray with that, and combined with this two-tone look we have on this one, which is an extra cost option with a black roof. It really looks nice, I have to say. We also have some new wheels here for 2025. On this SEL Premium, we do have 20-inch wheels here, and again, a really nice look. Then going down to the sides, all basically the same as before, and out back there you have a slightly tweaked rear bumper, as well as some new taillights, which was, I think, the biggest giveaway for me. They're darker and have different internals than the pre-refresh version. This one also has this optional bigger rear spoiler as well, which is just an extra cost kind of add-on, not something that's standard on all of these, but if you like that, just know you can also get that as well. And so yeah, overall, you know, didn't need much tweaking, I don't think. I think these actually look pretty good in my opinion, and so this freshens it up a little bit, but you know, again, very subtle, but there are some less subtle changes on the inside, so let's check that out. So yes, the interior of the Outlander continues to be very nice, but even nicer than it was before. I talked previously, whenever this generation Outlander came out, how it was a surprisingly nice interior and was nicer than I think a lot of people would expect. And so for 2025 here, the main big difference is that we now have a 12-inch touchscreen here, you know, larger than the 8 or 9-inch screens we had in the past. That's certainly a nice improvement. It has wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto, and I'll talk more about that in a minute, but you also have the digital gauge cluster here, but thankfully all the physical controls remain. So we still have a nice large volume knob. We still have, you know, these nice metal knobs here for your climate controls, plenty of buttons. We also have a nice metal controller for your drive mode selector here. So, you know, improvements in all the right areas, I think, and, you know, leaving everything else as is, as it should be. And so anyway, first thing, sitting down in these seats, you have these beautiful, thick, quilted, semi-aniline leather seats here in the SELs with this premium package on top of it. And these seats are super comfortable, super soft, and I don't know if it's just the shape of my back or what, but this is hands down my favorite seat in this segment. It's perfectly contoured, again, to at least my back, hopefully others as well, but I mean, this seat is perfection in my opinion. I love this seat. Has nice bolstering too for a vehicle in this segment, a little sportier I think than some of the others, but again, so soft and plush. I could drive across the country in this seat with no complaints. I absolutely love it. It's heated and ventilated. You also have memory functions here in these top versions, and one strange thing though is it used to have a basic massage function. It was just a basic lumbar thing, so I don't miss it a whole lot, but it's strangely missing here. I'm not sure why they deleted that, but I don't even care because this seat is still fantastic, and nobody else in the segment I don't think offers a massage anyway, so you know, it's not like it's you know, doing worse compared to the competitors as a result. And so fantastic seats here. The steering wheel in the Outlander I believe is the same as before, but that's no complaint. Still has a great 9-3 grip, little 10-2 notches, little metal scroller wheel here, and a few other little metal touches, and just a really great wheel, not too busy or cluttered, and I really like it. It's also a heated steering wheel here as well in these top versions. Moving on to the gauge cluster here though, you have again like another like 12-inch display here. It's a really nice digital gauge cluster, nice and crisp graphics, nice and high resolution, and like the Nissan that this is related to, the Rogue, it does all the same basic stuff. Where in the middle there you have very familiar kind of little, you know, tiles of basic info you can scroll through, including a map view, which is very nice, and there's also a view to minimize the gauges themselves and give you more of the other information there in the middle if you would like that. And really nice gauges, no complaints with those whatsoever. And you also do have a head-up display here in the premium package on this SEL as well. But coming over to the middle here, like I said, the 12-inch touchscreen right up top there has wireless Apple CarPlay, wireless Android Auto. It connected every time, it worked flawlessly, and had no glitches. And that is notable. Even the Nissan system this is based on occasionally gives me glitches. I don't know if I just got lucky this week, because I think it's the same basic software and all that, but you know, it does have unique graphics here from Mitsubishi they've customized. And you know, otherwise, there's all the basics very well. You know, going through radio stations is easy. The maps are a little dated looking at this point, but this one has the Sirius XM info, so it'll give you like gas prices and stuff too if you like. But everything else, you know, just works nice and simply and not overly complicated, and I do appreciate that. You also do have the nice large camera display there, you know, whenever you go again for these top versions with the 360 camera, and so all very nicely displayed there. Now the biggest news though, I think honestly even bigger news than this screen, is what this screen is hooked up to now. So as standard, you get an 8-speaker stereo here in the Outlanders that I believe is also Yamaha. But for these top versions, you get a 12-speaker Yamaha stereo. And this is, I believe, Yamaha's first application in an automotive product as far as stereos goes. And so this system has 1,650 watts of power. And Yamaha really, they didn't just slap a badge on it and give it these nice metal speaker grills. They actually worked a lot. Apparently the internals of the door were even slightly redesigned to improve the sound quality for this system. And Yamaha makes some pretty good stuff, whether we're talking about musical instruments or whenever they are tapped to help tune exhaust systems on vehicles that often sound fantastic. Yamaha knows what they're doing, and it's really cool we have this partnership. And I have to say, now I've spent, you know, a week with basically all of the top vehicles in this segment in the past year or two. This might be the best sounding stereo out of them all. There's some of the top Bose systems, and like the Mazdas, and even the Hyundai now has a Bose system that probably gets close. I'd have to sit in each of them back to back to truly, you know, do a great comparison. But I think this one is the best in the segment. It is fantastically crisp and clear. My only knock on it that I can say is that the 3D surround kind of experience that they try and do with software is a little less natural feeling than some of the others that I've experienced. So if you really appreciate that component, this might lose out to some of those Bose systems, possibly. But if you're not interested in that gimmick, just the clarity and the crispness, it is, I think, really the best. It is fantastic. I've loved jamming out to my music at high volumes here this week, and it's so good. And so if you're someone who really likes music, again, don't sleep on the Mitsubishi Outlander. Not a vehicle you think would have the top stereo in the segment. I think it actually might. And so really great stereo there, and totally worth getting if you can afford one of these top trims. And it also has like cool new ideas as far as like their speed compensation, not only just for like when you're moving in regular traffic and stuff, but also for like rain, and just has all these different little things to try and optimize the sound for whatever the vehicle is going through. And just really cool you have all that. But anyway, coming down, you have, again, your nice metal climate control knobs here, just a few buttons, nice and simple and easy. You do also have a new wireless charging pad. They say that it has a larger charging pad than before. I believe, you know, they kind of opened up this console a tiny bit, and so I think it should charge your phone pretty well. In my experience, it does a decent job here. It is very highly rubberized. It's a little loose though for this pad, so you know, still not entirely convinced that that's going to be one of the best. I think Hyundai and Kia do some of the best wireless charging pads in this segment, but certainly better than a lot of the other ones. There's some other ones, you know, from like Toyota, Honda that are not good. So this is, I'd say, you know, towards the top of the pack there with that application. One complaint I do have in this area though is that the cup holders are very shallow, and I don't remember this from the pre-refresh, but like putting any drink in here, it's going to tip over. So you're going to want to make sure it's definitely a bottled drink, because anything with, you know, a straw top or something, you're kind of rolling the dice there because it's so shallow. Just terrible cup holders. I usually don't complain about cup holders. This is the first bad cup holder I've seen in several years, I'd say, in a car. Now you also have some nice soft padding down by your knees. I'd say actually the softest padding in this segment, and it's so nice, you know, whenever you're resting it on, you know, longer highway drives with the cruise control on or whatever, having your knee resting up against there is so nice. And again, another underappreciated feature that they do here. You also have a super soft center armrest. All the touch points are so soft, like really plush, like you push down into it, it's like memory foam gel kind of feeling to it. It's really top notch. Again, there's so many things, all the little details really do impress me about this car. But anyway, you open up the center armrest, you have a nice pretty good sized cubby there with a USB-C jack in there as well. Moving on to the second row here in the Outlander, it's still a good amount of space. Again, nothing has changed since the pre-refresh, so if you're familiar with Outlanders, nothing new to really see out back there. You still have, you know, the sunshades there, which is great. You have their own little mini climate control back there, their own air vents, USB-C jacks. The only cheap thing I think is the fold down center armrest just opens up to the rear area there. So unlike some others where it's a two-piece kind of design, this is all just like the whole thing drops down there. But other than that, you know, still really great. They also have this beautiful panoramic roof to look out of, which is very nice. That does also open up in addition to having a cover and all that. Really nicely done there. Now, as far as the third row in the Outlander, I'm not going to spend much time on it because it's basically unusable. And I didn't even bother opening it up this week because, again, it's not usable. So from my last experience with it, though, you know, unless the second row is slid forward, you can't use that third row. There's no legroom whatsoever. And even with the second row slid all the way up so that you barely have any room in the second row, the third row is barely usable for smaller adults, really only for kids, and even kids, you know, can't be too big, you know, to fit back there well. So really just a third row to use in an extreme pinch, but definitely not something you want to use on a regular basis. It also kills your cargo space if you do have that up. But even if you have it down, you know, you have, as you'll see going into the cargo area there, a nice large space, but where that little tonneau cover rests is where your cutoff would be if that third row is up. Obviously, you know, you have that access to that full area whenever you're using this as a two-row vehicle, but it hurts your underfloor storage. And so you will see that you do have a little space there where you can, you know, fit your headrest there for that third row. But other than that, you know, not a lot of space. And that's an area where a lot of the other competitors have large spaces underneath the floor there for extra bonus storage. And you lose out on that because they chose to do the third row. I wish they would offer an option to not do the third row. Maybe that complicates things too much on the production line, but you know, I highly doubt very few people are actually going for this for the third row. You know, and I think that space is better used, again, in different ways. But let's start up and go for a drive. So the Outlander here still has the regular Mitsubishi key, nothing new here. But you know, it's a basic, nice key. At least it's nice and small, so it doesn't take up much room in your pocket. But of course, it is keyless access, keyless entry, and push button start. So you just leave the key in your pocket, hit the engine start button, and it starts right up. All right, so setting off here in the Mitsubishi Outlander. So the first thing you notice about it, well, I think the first thing that I always appreciate about the Outlander is the very good visibility you have here in it. You have, you know, a nice good view forward. A-pillars are nice and out of the way. They're a little thicker than some of the others maybe in the segment, but not by much. Very good visibility. You know, you have the mirror off onto the door there, and also view out of the back is very good as long as you don't have the headrest up for that third row. But you do now for 2025 also have a camera rear view mirror, which is, you know, a very nice improvement, and that certainly fixes the issue if you do actually ever use the third row in this, because then you'll always have a clear unobstructed view there behind you. But other things here about the Outlander, well, the one thing is, you know, this is still on the Rogue platform, of course, just a refresh, and this is still going to be using the old Rogue powertrain. The Rogue has moved up to a new 3-cylinder turbocharged engine that does more power. This still makes do with a naturally aspirated 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine and Nissan's older CVT. And the programming is still just not good. It's very rubber bandy. It's actually the most rubber bandy CVT I've felt in years. It's even worse than Subaru's, and I did have some complaints with it, and you'll see that when we do an acceleration here in a minute. But other things, though, there were a few other nice little changes for 2025. So we do have increased sound deadening, they say, so it'll be a quieter ride. They've also retuned the springs, the bushings, and the dampers to reduce all of the harsher impacts a little bit, so it'll be a little smoother over manhole covers, potholes, things like that. And I have noticed this week, I mean, I didn't really have any complaints, I'd say, with the Outlander for the pre-refresh, honestly, but I certainly have no complaints now. You know, it's still very smooth, very comfortable, and that is notable because there are some others, including the Rogue, honestly, that didn't feel quite as nice over bumps as this. And so I think Mitsubishi did a very good job with the engineering of the suspension. It feels really good and still has pretty good handling as well, as you'll see in a minute. But even with the CVT not having the best tuning, in my opinion, throttle response, though, is pretty nice and responsive still. You know, does jump in pretty eagerly there and try and give you some power, you know, even if the CVT is a little getting confused sometimes. But brakes also, though, have a nice progressive feel to them, very easy. And yeah, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and put it up into the tarmac mode, which is the sporty mode here for the Outlander. And let's turn down onto this back road here and see how it does. And here we go. So it's like I'm not going very fast, and then the CVT changes ratios, and then it does, you know, get up to speed a little bit better there. But it's slow. I would say this is pretty easily the slowest in its segment, I'd venture to say. And so we have 181 horsepower and 181 pound-feet of torque. When Motor Trend tested the pre-refresh, which shouldn't be any different acceleration-wise to this, they got an 8.6 seconds 0 to 60. So bottom of the pack as far as acceleration goes. And I'll just save you, a little bit of time here and say if you want a good powertrain in an Outlander, you have to go for the plug-in hybrid. Unfortunately, the plug-in hybrid version doesn't get all these same changes until the 2026 model year. I'm assuming coming at some point here later this year, or maybe not until next year, I don't know. But I love the plug-in hybrid version. The powertrain is fantastic, and that is very, very compelling. But I would argue to say you have to wait until the plug-in hybrid with all these same great improvements. That's the only Outlander I would go for. This just feels too slow. I was annoyed with this on many occasions this week, and it's not like I'm expecting this to be a sports car. I just got out of a Tucson, a few weeks ago, just was in the Rogue, was in a Sportage last year. I mean, I'm very familiar with this kind of power level and, what to expect from this segment, and this still, it just falls short of all the competitors. That's the bottom line for me. I mean, it's still a crossover. A lot of people, don't care if it's slow. But if you care at all, definitely take it for a test drive at least and see, how it feels to you. But personally, the plug-in hybrid is great. This is not great. One other little driving change that was done for 2025 here was that there is more off-center steering feel. So I guess maybe it was a little too light before, and so they wanted to give it a little more feel. And we are coming up some corners here that I always take, and let's see how this handles and how that steering feels now. So I really like it. I think it does feel a little better, maybe a little more natural than before. Before it was maybe a little abnormally light. I didn't have any complaints though, again, with the plug-in hybrid, the pre-refresh, but this is also very good, and I really like it. It's not overboard with the steering weight or anything like some others have, done in the past few years. This is, a very nice happy medium. And especially these ones with the super handling all-wheel drive system that they have here. Super all-wheel control, I think is what the Mitsubishi calls it. It's very good. It does give you kind of like torque vectoring kind of a sensation, and it feels pretty eager in the tarmac mode. Now, when you're out of the tarmac mode, this can feel a little lazy. So if you are in a hurry, or if you want to have this thing feel sporty, you got to put it in that tarmac mode. And then I think it actually does, I wouldn't say transform the handling, but it certainly gives you a noticeable, appreciable change. And it does feel very good, especially when you're going uphill, and it powers you through corners a lot better in this tarmac mode. It's very noticeable, and yeah, just very well done. I don't know if it's the best handling in this segment. I think CX-5 still might handle a little bit better, but I know whenever I did the plug-in hybrid Outlander, that was hands down the best handling plug-in hybrid SUV in this segment. I have, no reason to think that it's going to change for 2026 here whenever the plug-in hybrid with these changes comes. And so I'm very excited for that. Also, supposedly there's a rumor that will have a bigger battery pack, and even better plug-in hybrid than it is. But I mean, like, I'm just trying to accelerate after turning, and this thing has to work so hard all the time. In tarmac mode, it is a little more eager to downshift and give me that power, so it feels a little less sluggish. But yeah, just it's plug-in hybrid or nothing for this. But other things here. So this road does generate a little more road noise, and very serene. I'll even take it out of the tarmac mode here so we quiet the engine down slightly, but it's actually very good. I'd say this is slightly better than the average crossover in this segment for sure. Again, not the best, but definitely better than average. And just a really nice thing to drive. And I think that's been the bottom line is all week, even despite the lack of power, because I was comfortable in this seat. I had a fantastic stereo, good visibility, easy to drive. I really had no complaints here with this, and everything else is really nitpicky, but I think this is going to be completely fine for the average, driver out there. And, again, I think a little bit better than all the common, vehicles that people buy in this segment. I think you're missing out if you don't at least test drive the Outlander and see, how it feels to you. But overall, I'm very, very impressed with it still. And for anyone that's curious about the curb weight, with this having that extra third row and all that, these weigh 3,803 pounds. And also, as far as the all-wheel drive goes, that is still an extra cost option, and that is something that you have to pay extra for if you want it, which is nice if you live in an area where you don't need all-wheel drive, because you do have some cost savings there over some of the other competitors that do just give you all-wheel drive as standard, like the Subaru Forester. If you don't need that, you get the extra efficiency with front-wheel drive, and that cost savings. So I actually really am happy that Mitsubishi continues to offer that option instead of forcing all-wheel drive on everyone. And now we're out on a busy highway here in the Outlander, and I do have the adaptive cruise control system on, which is standard here. And you know, it's a really nice highway cruiser out here. This segment's a little noisier, but now moving on, quiet segment here of highway. It's really, really nice and very, very serene in here, honestly. And then once you have this fantastic stereo cranking, you know, you'll never pay attention to anything else otherwise. And so also, you know, we're going around this gentle corner here on the highway, direct sunlight beaming down on us, and it's doing a very good job here with the steering assist. Now, I believe this tech is probably the same as the Nissan Pro Pilot Assist. Okay, now it's getting close to the line there. Didn't quite go over, but now we are ping-ponging a little bit. But the Nissan system, and Mitsubishi by extension, is one of the better systems. It does a very good job in my experience, pretty reliable assistance. The only thing I'll say is it's not the smartest with sensing when my hands are on the wheel, because like my hands were on the wheel, and it just gave me a little quick warning to keep my hands on the wheel. So I guess you got to, you know, give it a little bit more torque for it to, you know that you're there. Another corner here, and I'm just kind of, you know, letting it do the steering basically for me here, and it's very good. It's a very well done assist system. And again, I'm actually really impressed with how quiet the engine is out here on the highway and everything. It's all, you know, really well done. Now, as far as the other safety stuff here, of course, you have everything as standard, like you get in anything else in 2025 here in this segment at least. So that means you have automatic emergency braking, blind spot monitoring, rear cross traffic alerts. You know, all those things you can think of are all going to be, you know, built right in here. And you know, it's really great they've, you know, kept up with all of that. And it's also great that, you know, these have this head-up display, so that gives me, you know, a really good sense of what the adaptive cruise control is doing as far as the lane sensing and all that. Now, the one thing this doesn't have, and I think it may have someday, is hands-free driving, because as it is right now, there's a little icon on the dash here that has a steering wheel with hands on it. I'm assuming that's because someday there will be a version of that icon without hands on it potentially, because Nissan does offer hands-free as a very expensive, like $3,000 option on the Rogue for 2025 now. I don't believe that's an option here on this yet. The Nissan system, though, is not great. It rarely works in my experience with several Nissan vehicles now that have had it, and Infiniti vehicles even for that matter. So you're not missing out on much not having it here in the Mitsubishi. Don't feel too upset that you don't have it. Fuel economy here for the Outlander is 24 mpg in the city, 30 on the highway, and 26 combined. And in my driving here, I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm getting 23.9 mpg, and I did about the average amount of driving, maybe a tiny bit more highway driving than I usually do, but still, majority of my driving was suburban around town driving, and I'm hitting the city rating, which I'm impressed with, because typically in my driving I get 1 to 2 mpg less than the city rating. And so the fact this is hitting the city rating gives me the confidence that this could actually overperform its estimates potentially. And you know, I mean, 24 mpg is nothing to get excited about, especially since, you know, this segment offers, you know, hybrids and plug-in hybrids and all that. And obviously, if you want better efficiency, Mitsubishi also offers the plug-in hybrid. But for those just shopping regular gas crossovers, you know, I think this is not the best out there for sure. Even, you know, non-hybrid versions of RAV4s, for example, can get higher fuel economy. But you know, it's not a big deal. And again, if you're interested in better efficiency, you're better off with a hybrid or a plug-in hybrid anyway, instead of, you know, nitpicking 1 or 2 mpg here or there between these other regular crossovers. And then the last thing here to mention really is the pricing and how it compares to the competition. So these start at about $31,000, and then this one, as tested, is just under $46,000, which is basically the highest in the segment. The Rogue I had was slightly more expensive with its crazy, you know, hands-free driving package. It was so expensive, but this is basically like the top of the segment as far as non-hybrid, you know, crossovers in this compact segment. It's really, really expensive. Now, part of that is there's like a $1,400 welcome package that gives you like puddle lamps that say Mitsubishi Motors, which I think there's maybe 5 people in the world that, you know, love Mitsubishi enough that they want puddle lamps that pronounce to everyone you have Mitsubishi, you know, for your vehicle. I mean, nothing against Mitsubishi. It's just like, you know, I could understand a luxury brand kind of having that or something, but you're not buying a Mitsubishi for the badge, so why they're flaunting that. Anyway, so there's, you know, a couple silly option packages. Really, if you want an SEL Premium that gives you, again, these very nice semi-aniline leather seats, the head-up display, the top stereo, all those types of things, that's going to run you about $44,000, which is better. Still one of the most expensive ones in this segment, though. And, you know, I will say that no one pays sticker price for a Mitsubishi, and, you know, your deal will vary. I have to judge vehicles based off MSRP, though, because I don't know what kind of deal you're going to get. Obviously, if you can get this pricing within range of the other vehicles you're considering, then this makes a whole lot more sense. But at its MSRP, it does not. Now, if you are looking for the best deal on an Outlander and you are interested in this vehicle, you're definitely going to want to head over to mattmoranmotoring.com, because there you're going to get access to dealer invoice pricing, which is a great start to your negotiations there, as well as getting connected to a dealer there that can hook you up with a test drive in one of these, and so you can check one of these out in person for yourself and see, you know, just how nice these really are. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description as well as a link in a pinned comment to take you straight to that site so you can get that information. The one other very redeeming quality I will say about the Outlander here is that Mitsubishi does offer a 10-year, 100,000-mile powertrain warranty, which is the same as what Hyundai and Kia offer as well. No, it's not like it's only Mitsubishi that offers that. But the real nice thing too is that Mitsubishi also gives you a 5-year, 60,000-mile bumper-to-bumper warranty. And so, you know, that is very impressive. They also give you 2 years of free scheduled maintenance as well. So, you know, there's a lot of other little perks there too. So that's why, again, if you can get the price of one of these down, you know, beneath the competitors that are appealing to you, then I think this, you know, can be a very strong, you know, vehicle in this segment. But as it is, you know, pricing just is kind of what screws it up. But let's get to the competition and what you can get for less money. So there's a ton of competitors, but I'll try to keep this brief. All of the vehicles in the segment start within $1,000 to $2,000 of each other, but it is worth noting that if you want all-wheel drive, the Mazda CX-5 starts $1,000 less, including that all-wheel drive, and a comparable base Outlander with their all-wheel drive added would come out to about $3,000 more to start. And even the newer Mazda CX-50 even comes in slightly less to start when we compare all-wheel drive versus all-wheel drive. And a Subaru Forester with its standard all-wheel drive is the same starting price as the front-wheel drive Outlander as well. Moving beyond starting pricing though, the Mazda CX-5 is still the best deal in this segment, coming in $7,000 less comparably equipped for its top trim, and you can even get the turbo version with 250 horsepower for over $1,000 less too. The newer CX-50 is also $4,500 less for its top non-turbo trim, and the turbo one with that same punchy 250 horsepower engine is only $1,000 more than this Outlander's MSRP. The Kia Sportage is another great choice that matches the Mitsubishi's warranty coverage, and that's $5,500 less comparably equipped. From there, the values are a little less impressive, but they all undercut this MSRP still. The Volkswagen Tiguan gets a brand new generation for 2025, and those are very impressive inside as well, with a 15-inch touchscreen, but sadly no physical controls for HVAC anymore. They also give you a turbocharged 201 horsepower engine, and will be costing just over $41,000 fully loaded, $3,000 less than this Outlander. The Chevy Equinox is also $3,000 less, although that loses the head-up display and the branded stereo upgrade, as does the Subaru Forester, which comes only $2,000 less than this. The Ford Escape is also $2,000 less for its top trim, and while that does give you a great powertrain with 250 horsepower as well, you only get fake leather in the Ford, and they've also thrown out all the HVAC controls and give you that big screen and not much else on the dash these days. But if you don't mind that, that's a strong competitor too. The Hyundai Tucson got a little refresh this year as well and is very nice inside now, and that also comes in $2,500 less and includes that Hyundai 10-year warranty. The Nissan Rogue that this shares a platform with is only $600 less for its MSRP, and while that gives you more power, I like the Mitsubishi better. Lastly, the two top sellers, the Honda CR-V and the Toyota RAV4, both come in $1,000 less than the Outlander, but in the RAV4 you get a smaller screen, fake leather, and cheaper materials, but you do have the famous Toyota reliability, which might be enough to win over lots of people, with Toyota selling nearly 500,000 of them in 2024 and making it the best-selling vehicle outside of the Ford F-150 last year in America. The CR-V is the more compelling option though, with that not only giving you some nicer materials than the RAV4, but that top CR-V also gives you the hybrid powertrain at a $1,000 sticker savings there, which gets 37 mpg combined, providing lots of gas savings too. Now you do get a smaller screen in the Honda, but for those not worried about screen size bragging rights, the CR-V is very compelling, which is likely why it's the #2 bestseller in the segment. So yeah, overall, in a vacuum, I really like the Outlander. I think it's very well done. Again, I think it's very underrated, underappreciated. It's really the underdog in this segment that a lot of people might not even know exists, to be completely honest, or they just don't pay attention. You know, it's not one of the top cross-shop vehicles in this segment. I mean, Mitsubishi does sell a decent amount of these, but you know, I still just feel like these are slept on. And so it all comes down to the price though. And that's really the bottom line. At MSRP, it's not worth it. But if your deal comes in significantly under those other competitors, then this could actually be my pick. I would not hesitate to own one of these, again, with that fantastic warranty coverage, with, again, the fantastic comfort, the amazing stereo, the good looks, in my opinion, the top-notch luxury, top-notch tech. I mean, everything is just, it's very well done. Like, Mitsubishi checked every box and in most cases improved on, you know, most of the other competitors. And it's almost like a Hyundai and Kia approach that I really respect, of being like, okay, let's look at what everyone else is doing. Now let's do it better. Let's offer more warranty. Let's, you know, try and really, you know, improve on what everyone else is offering. And I think that they are mostly successful. I think, again, for me, I gotta have the plug-in hybrid version. This powertrain just doesn't do it for me. But this with the plug-in hybrid thing in 2026 would probably be my favorite vehicle in this segment, all things considered. Again, coming down to price, and that being the all-important factor. But if pricing lines up, I think this is a fantastic choice. So anyway, that's all of my thoughts here on the 2025 Outlander refresh. Let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below. Huge thanks to Mitsubishi for providing me here with this vehicle to review for you guys today. Yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Take care.